Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Excelcast. I'm your host, Joe Parker, and today I have a man who just finished his master's degree. He got an MBA. He was 6 times on the Dean's List. He was part of the National Society of Leadership and Success. He is a 4 time PSAC Scholar Athlete, a 2 time PSAC Eastern Conference Champion. 2021, he's the PSAC League Champion. He is he got an internship and a job at a Big Four accounting firm, KPMG, and he also worked with me at he worked at the lead office for the Kutztown SBDC, but he was in the Kutztown office, so whenever I go in there, I would see him. My friend and classmate and coworker, Ryan Jennings. Ryan, how are you doing today, man?
Good. I'm feeling blessed. Good to see you. Good to see you doing well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So for today, for the podcast, you chose versatility as your word. So explain that to us. Why was versatility your word?
Yeah, I feel like growing up, just throughout my life, versatile has been a word to describe me. That's what other people have described me with, that word a lot. And I think it's a very accurate word to describe myself with just because of the different things I've experienced. And, I've been able to see life from all different facets and from both sides of the fence, which, we'll get into. But I think that versatile is definitely a word that definitely coincides with my journey and how I like to portray myself.
Yeah, just talking to you about your story and the various changes that you went through growing up. I believe that versatile, it was actually a word I think I wrote down while we were talking about it. And then you kind of just said, if there's one word, it's probably versatility. And I was like, well, that's funny because I just wrote versatile down as we were talking
Yeah,
about this.
it's crazy.
And yeah, so just give us like a rundown of like how it was growing up, like where your childhood was, when you were younger and how you developed to be the person that you are today.
Yeah, so growing up, well, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Born and raised in Baltimore City, and I was originally from the Woodlawn area, and then I had lived in Randallstown for a little bit. And yeah, just growing up, I had a lot of things that I, endured. I had a single mom, shared a room with my sister. I can definitely say that I experienced. I mean, I wasn't super poor or anything. I had clothes on my back. I didn't have the nicest clothes, things like that. But definitely seeing my mom working hard, busting herself every day. We're going to work every day, working two jobs, trying to, provide for the family and things like that. And it definitely shaped me to who I am. I definitely seen that side of the fence where it's like, okay, I didn't have all the finer things. Definitely wasn't silver spoon. I shared a room with my sister my whole life. That says a lot. And definitely was a defining part of my life where I was thinking like, wow, when I'm older, I really want to aspire to, have a big house. I want to have not necessarily a lot of cars, but just finer things in life because growing up, I wasn't necessarily exposed to that. And so yeah, so went to elementary school, grade school, all that in Baltimore. And then around middle school, so I actually got sent to New Jersey to live with my father because, just disciplinary issues and things like that. Got sent to live with my dad. I actually ended up going to Eastern Regional in Camden County. And honestly, that changed my life. I was now living in the suburbs, a more affluent area, you could say. Definitely being able to see the more residential side of life, being able to go to a highly renowned school. Eastern is a school known for not only athletics, but it's really good academically. And, that definitely gave me a different perspective on life. I remember when I first moved to Jersey, I felt so out of place because I just wasn't used to, I wasn't used to the type of lifestyle that was, common there. And A lot of things were different. And I remember when I first started going to school out there, I felt so much like an outsider, but I made friends quick because my personality, I was able to adapt. Like we talked about versatility. I was always able to adapt. And I definitely think that that was a turning point in my life, honestly, because if I didn't move to Jersey, who knows? Like how my path could have been. Like that was God,
Oh yeah,
honestly. It was God that chose that because he knew my potential. And he was like, okay, well, let me take you out of this environment where maybe you're not, being encouraged to fulfill your potential to the best just because, people become products of their environment sometimes. And I definitely wasn't really in an environment that was going to, propel me on the path that I am currently on now. So I think
yeah,
that switch was huge. It was really huge.
yeah. You kind of outgrew your environment. Like you gave that
Definitely.
environment and that space all that you could, and as you said, like God said, no, it's time for you to develop somewhere else. You need a bigger pot, for lack of a better term. You fill the pot up, you need to grow more, so you need a bigger pot to plant your roots more. And I feel like
Definitely.
that was, yeah, it's definitely a huge move, moving to a whole nother city, whole nother state and city,
Hmm.
regardless of, but that transition, you had to be versatile, but how was that transition for you?
Yeah, so honestly, it was hard at first because when I remember when I first moved, having to make all new friends. My friends from, Maryland, they were my childhood friends, preschool, all the way through elementary school. Like I knew them my whole life, grew up in the same neighborhood. So these were people that I had known all my life, and to just switch was really hard. Moving to Jersey, definitely it brought a different side out of me. It brought a more a more calmer, more I had to become more of a person that could adapt to any room I'm in. I had to be able to adapt to any room I'm in. That's the thing that's important. You got to be able to adapt. A lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with being unapologetically you, but at the same time, you have to know how to adapt to certain rooms, certain mannerisms, and certain behaviors might not be as acceptable or as proper as in certain rooms. It's kind of the same as if, you're in a room with a CEO versus if you're in a room with your best friend.
Yeah,
You're gonna act different. It's not like you're not being yourself. You're just conducting yourself in a way more appropriate for the environment you're currently in. So that definitely played a big factor in when I moved to Jersey. And I was in a more suburban area, and a lot of things were a lot different, and that definitely kind of changed my persona of how I carried myself, how I viewed the world. That kind of brought the whole business side out of me. That was more so when I became wanting to be, a businessman. I knew that I wanted to be a businessman because of a lot of things I experienced, in New Jersey.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, absolutely. And we briefly touched on this as well. With playing football, it was part of your dream, but not really. You had said to me that you wanted to be a businessman. And while a lot of
Hmm.
kids, their dream is to go to the NFL, your dream was to be a businessman. So,
Yes.
how did you develop that mindset and how did you develop that particular dream?
Yeah, so it's funny because I was a late bloomer. So when I was living in Baltimore, I didn't play any sports. I played soccer in like second grade, just for fun. I was a little kid. Didn't really like it one year, didn't do it again. Played rec league basketball for like one year, wasn't that good at it. So I was never really a sports guy. Um, when I moved to Jersey though, my first year playing football, like my first year playing organized sports, like seriously, my whole life was in seventh grade when I had first moved to New Jersey. I started playing football, Pop Warner, for the Eastern Junior Vikings. That was my first year ever playing football, and honestly, it was that is what really put me on the path where it was like I was a late bloomer. A lot of people have been playing football since I don't know, first, second grade. People have been playing football since midget league. And, I was a guy, I came in seventh grade. I had to learn a lot. That is when I really realized I'm such a fast learner because, these people have been playing their whole life I kid you not, by eighth grade, I was the star of the team. I was the star running back. It was me and this other kid. We were the two-star running backs. We got the ball every play. Nobody else got the ball but us. And that was only my second year ever playing that sport. So that just showed how fast of a learner I was, how hard of a worker I was to, I'm gonna work hard every day. Even though I might not be that good at it now, I'm gonna learn the ins and outs of it. And that was a big, big deal for me. And as soon as I got to high school, I had started varsity sophomore year, junior year, senior year, started varsity. My freshman year, I played freshman football, but I also got moved up and played JV. That was only my third year playing football my freshman year. So it was like I was such a fast learner. I was always an athlete, but I was such a fast learner. But in that process, I was always smaller. I was definitely super, super small, which is why I didn't play sports that much in elementary school because I was a lot smaller. And mom didn't want me getting hurt and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got started getting bigger in high school and things like that, and having my growth spurt. And honestly, I just knew that even though I was always athletically blessed because I ran track, I was always fast, things like that. I never really had aspirations to go to the NFL. It's just something that I had a love for football, but I had a love for football for what it could do for me. I knew football could get me into college for free. I knew I could use my athleticism to my advantage to, get scholarships and get into a nice school. It was never really about me going to the league. And I always knew I wanted to be a businessman. I always wanted to be a suit and tie guy. So I just knew that growing up, and honestly, that I was able to utilize football to my advantage to chase my dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And to the point of when you were a late bloomer, right? So you start out really late, seventh, eighth grade, and like you said,
Hmm.
like I've experienced, not a lot of people start that late.
Yeah.
Um, if you do, though, you do have to be a fast learner. You have to catch on
Hmm.
quickly, whether that be, learning plays, learning how the footwork, lifting, whatever it is. You're definitely behind in one of those categories. And I
Hmm.
feel like beginner's luck sometimes, like how they say beginner's luck, I don't think it's beginner's luck. I think it's everyone around me is used to this. So I have to learn this as much as I can. So, I don't look like an idiot. Like for
Hmm.
lack of a better term, like,
Yeah, definitely.
you gotta learn all the plays. You gotta learn how the drills are conducted, all those things.
Hmm.
And I feel like it wasn't beginner's luck. It was like I gotta prove myself.
Yeah, definitely had to prove myself.
And
Definitely.
especially being in a new area too. And,
Hmm.
but like being in a new area and playing football, how was that outlet for you? Football. Was it an outlet for you in a certain way, or did you kind of stick more towards academics as an outlet for certain things?
No, football was definitely an outlet for me. Honestly, when I moved to New Jersey, it made things a lot easier because that's where I met a lot of my friends. A lot of
Okay.
my good friends that I became best friends with throughout the years that are still really close to me now. I met playing Pop Warner in middle school. Those were the people that welcomed me with open arms when I first came to Jersey. I was an out of state guy, came in, they welcomed me with open arms, and I made a lot of really close friends with them. And yeah, I use football as an outlet definitely to not only for the brotherhood that football is it's big on brotherhood. You go to war with these guys every day, practicing hard. It definitely brings that camaraderie and it brings that brotherhood out of people because you're going to war with these guys, even with college. The people that I was working out with every day, going to practice with, sweat and tears in the heat and sun in the heat sun. So these are people you're gonna build bonds with just because you're going through that struggle together. You're going through the work hard, the grind together. So I think football was a great outlet for me when I first moved to Jersey because it really helped me, I would say, gain most of my friends that were my close friends. Because if I didn't play sports, maybe it would have been a little harder to meet people because I just would have been another guy. But being that I was one of the stars of the football team, you know, I can honestly say more people flocked towards me. I was more of a more of a magnet because like, oh, who is this guy? Who's the new kid? Like he's really good at football. I want to get to know him. He seems cool. Things like that. That helped me gain a lot of friends and, meet a lot of new people without having to, be awkward or like stick myself out and try to become friends with everybody and try to force it. People just knew of my name.
Yeah. Yeah. You just, through hard work, dedication, and discipline, you became someone that other people wanted to be around, other people wanted to
Definitely.
attract themselves to.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's definitely a huge point because you didn't have to be awkward and in those situations, like you said, because of who you were.
Exactly.
And, you know, that hard work, dedication, determination,
Hmm.
laser like focus in order to learn quickly and pick up on things was beneficial to you in more ways than one.
Hmm.
And I really think that that's awesome. And just speaking on, colleges and, that it would help you pay for college. I remember we were talking about some struggles that you had with certain colleges and how you had to overcome those and make some hard decisions. So how was that experience for you, navigating the college lifestyle or not college lifestyle? How was it for you to navigate, picking a college and going to
Hmm.
college and what was right for you?
Yeah, so this is actually, this was a very defining point in my life because the college I chose actually ended up playing, I mean, like anybody, but it played a major role in my path, which honestly to this day, it's kind of crazy how it happened. So, just to sum it up, basically in high school, like I said, I was a big academics guy. I actually was getting recruited by, some Ivy League, some Patriot League, you know, Columbia, Lehigh, schools like that, academic schools. They were interested in me. And, I really thought that I was going to end up going Ivy. Princeton, I had a visit with Princeton. A lot of those schools were interested in me. Then, deeper down in the process, I started getting looked at by schools like Rutgers, Temple for football. And then I'm starting thinking like, yeah, I kind of want to be close to home. Temple and Rutgers are fairly close because my dad was in Jersey, my mom was in Maryland. Temple, Rutgers are both kind of smack in the middle of both of them. So
Yeah.
those both became my dream schools, especially Rutgers because that was my mother's alma mater. So during the process, Rutgers starts getting interested in me, and I was super hyped. Temple was interested in me. I was super hyped, and it was actually I had to face adversity because they actually never offered me, and the whole time they're showing me super interest. Temple's inviting me to all their games. I'm going to all their games, meeting all the players, but then they never actually gave me an official offer. So, last second I was kind of scrambling because I was like, dang, they didn't even offer me, and it kind of, threw me for a loop. So yeah, then I actually applied to all these schools, because you have to apply either way. And I got accepted to, all the schools, Rutgers, Temple, all that. And they never offered me. So Kutztown actually offered me. Some other D2 schools came out and offered me too. But Kutztown was the one that I knew, okay, if I'm gonna go somewhere to play football, I'm gonna go to Kutztown. And there was a different factors as to why that was the reason. One, when I had visited, I loved it. The campus. The campus was great. It wasn't too big. Everything was in walking distance because me, I don't really like having to, drive everywhere or take public transportation like how when I visited Rutgers,
Yeah.
you had to take public transportation to get to, one campus to the other campus to get from class to dorm. You had to take the public bus and stuff, and that wasn't that appealing to me. Where with Kutztown, when I was on my football visit, they showed me everything's in walking distance. You can walk from the AF to South to anywhere you want to go. So I thought that that was very interesting. Plus, the football team, when I went on my visit, the football team they were amazing. All the people I met, even my people that were my people that showed me around on my visit that I got to stay with, the players, they were great guys. They were great guys. They left the impact on me so much where even after my visit, I was still in contact with them before I even committed. It was just everything was just so great on my visit. I was thinking this is the place I'm gonna go if I do go to school. But I was in a little bit of a dilemma because Rutgers, I got accepted into Rutgers Engineering School. And
Yeah.
like me and you had talked about, so growing up, I was a great artist because my sister and my dad were really good at drawing. So I got that genetically. I was a really good artist and also was really good at math. I was advanced in math in high school. I was taking a grade above. I took calculus in high school, so I already had the credits, everything. I was good at math and drawing. So I was like, how can I combine this? Okay, architecture. I'm going to be an architect. Plus, obviously architects make a lot of money. So I was like, yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm going to be an architect. But I took classes my senior year and I didn't like it. I was falling asleep in class and all that. So I'm like, okay, what else could I do? I'll be an engineer. So okay, I applied to Rutgers Engineering School, got accepted, and now I was in a little bit of a dilemma because I'm like, wow, Rutgers is a really good school academically. Do I go to Rutgers for academics or do I play football at this D2 small school?
Yeah.
I have
And you
decision
also had your
decisions.
mom because it was her alma mater. So like
Yes.
her also
Yeah,
being like, hey, like, you got
exactly.
in.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
definitely putting the pressure on me. She really wanted me to go to Rutgers a lot. That was something that, she was pressuring me. She really wanted me to go there, but everybody had their inputs, and at the end of the day, it was my journey, it was my decision, and
Yeah.
everybody had their little inputs on what they thought. But at the end of the day, my decision was that, I'm gonna go to Kutztown. I already knew a bunch of guys from the team already. Some of the guys like Justin Harris, Anton Lloyd, I had known them in high school. Kyle Sapp. There were a lot of people that in my class going in that I had already known from high school. So I'm like, okay, let's all go there together, and let's all, be on the same team. I thought that was something that was really cool. That these are people I've known already in high school, and we're all gonna go to the same college. So choosing Kutztown was honestly one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life of anything for sure.
Yeah, having that community already kind of like, before you even show up is definitely a good feeling because you not only are trying to navigate A, being away from home, B, the college life, but you also have friends with you. You already have that base foundation of community, which already comes
Hmm.
with football. But
Yeah.
it, having people from your area with you too just makes it so much better because at a certain point with football, like sometimes those guys don't, oh, they get you in a sense of like football, right?
Hmm.
But the
Yeah.
people that came with you from your home area, they get you in a sense of like everything, right?
Yes.
Everything that
Hmm.
you guys grew up with. And
Definitely.
just speaking to you being like a big academic guy, I remember one time specifically, we were in, it was a decision making class that we were in. And as I was walking out, you were doing accounting. And I was like, oh, yo, what's that for? Because like we had most of the same classes. And you're like, oh, I just like
Yeah.
to do this for fun. I was like, yo, what?
Mhm.
I just, you were really dedicated to, learning what you wanted to do. And
Yeah.
I really, like, that was one of the moments where I was like, huh. I was like, I never catch myself like doing stuff like that outside of it. You're like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
just something I like to do sometimes. I was
Hmm.
like, wow, that's crazy. So when I started this podcast and everything, you were someone that I definitely wanted to have on because you, outside of class, you were just doing like accounting stuff because you love doing accounting, and I love that you have a passion for it and that you know, wanted to do it outside of class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an awesome thing to see, and yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah, definitely. One weird fact about me, my
Yeah,
whole life, for some reason, is there's something about me with Excel where I really love Excel. I used to be on YouTube watching Excel like quick tips or things, weird things you could do in Excel that the common person doesn't know, little like
yeah,
gadget tips and like Excel hacks. I don't know,
yeah,
something about Excel is just really enjoyable for me to use. So that kind of goes hand in hand because I use it a lot with my accounting profession. So yeah,
yeah,
something about Excel is just really enjoyable to use. It's like appealing to me.
yeah. Especially when you learn how to use it properly and you can like
Hmm.
do cool stuff with it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It actually makes like at first when I was like learning how to use it, I was like, yo, this is hard. Like, why don't I just write this down? Like, why am I using
Yeah.
Excel? But then
Hmm.
once you learn like all the formulas, the quick tips, and
Yeah.
everything, it starts to really like, wow, this is a lot easier. Because I know like
Hmm.
with what I do with Mark at the SBDC,
Hmm.
they, we do a lot of financial projections, and
Yeah.
we have a projection spreadsheet, and it calculates anything. You put things in 4 tabs, and then after that, it's the entire the 21 tabs are just filled with information for you,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just, yeah, Excel is definitely a cool tool to use,
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
in any finance, any business field. It's definitely something that you should get
Hmm.
acquainted with at least.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how was it, you had mentioned both sides of the fence, right? And how have you applied living both in an area that wasn't so good when you were living in Maryland and only with a single mom, and then moving to New Jersey, living in a nicer neighborhood with your dad? I understand you kind of went into it and how it affected you, but specifically, how do you apply those experiences to your everyday life?
Yeah, so one thing about life that and you see it a lot with, social media nowadays and just how the world is in general. A lot of people are narrow-minded. They're very narrow-minded, stuck in their ways. They can't understand anybody else's perspective. It's like everybody thinks that it's their way or the highway. A
Yeah.
lot of people disagree on things in this world because they can't understand another person's perspective. See, with me, I'm very open-minded, and I'm very open-minded to how other people feel. I would like to think I'm sort of an empath where I can understand how other people are feeling in their situation and from their perspective how they might perceive something that I might perceive a different way. A lot of people can't do that. It's like, okay, no, the way you think is wrong. And it's like that's not true because you can look at something from different sides and you'll see a different thing depending on how you're looking at it, where you're coming from looking at it, and how you feel about what you're looking at. And I think that that comes from, how I was raised. I was able to see both sides. I wasn't just from one environment. I've seen how it is not living in, such a nice neighborhood and how it is to for people to grow up and have that kind of influences on them. And I've also seen people grow up silver spoon and how that affects them and the way they act. And just combining both into to one person and just it just showed me, well, not everybody is right. The way that you perceive something, that doesn't mean it's set that way. It could be perceived many different ways, and why can't we all be right? It's not just your way or the highway. So definitely when I'm seeing a lot of things in the world and how people react to certain things, it's just I just think that, well, you're not really thinking of it from somebody else's perspective. You're only thinking of how you see it. So I think that that'll def help me throughout my life, being able to, just relate to I can relate to anybody, how anybody feels about a certain situation. I can relate to them. I can understand, and that's gonna help me in whatever room I step into.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that having a double-sided perspective is definitely makes you more well-rounded when it comes to
Definitely.
communicating, understanding, and being able to read a room and
Exactly.
develop
Definitely.
relationships with people, because you can
Hmm.
develop relationships with anyone, and anyone has impact, right?
Yeah.
With who they know, with what they know, everyone has something that they can teach you. Everyone
Hmm.
has information that you can learn from, and being able to have access to more people, because that's what your experience did. Your experiences, they allowed you to have more access to different groups of people, and that's
Yeah.
very valuable,
Hmm.
moving forward. And I think one of like the main questions that I've been wondering is, you went from being, in a not so good neighborhood and then a nicer neighborhood. And some people may think that, oh, now that you're in a nicer neighborhood and you may have, not that you have a, silver spoon mentality, but it gets a little comfortable, right? You get a little more
Hmm.
comfortable than where you were before.
Hmm.
How did you develop a driving force for wanting to be a successful businessman? And what was your why for wanting to do that?
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, my drive for wanting to become a businessman, it really came from my mom. Growing up, I've seen my mom, work. I've seen her work blue collar jobs. I've seen her work white collar jobs. My mom was, growing up, she was Superman, Superwoman. She was whatever I needed her to be. She was Superman, Superwoman, anybody.
Good.
She was all that and above. Just seeing her, the hustle she had to put on to provide for me and my sister, and she did a lot. She really did. She did it all. You would like to say on her own, but she obviously she had help, but just from the perspective I've seen when I was younger, it was like she was doing it all on her own. And I saw my mom. She really motivated me to want to join the business world because I saw my mom how she climbed the ladder from position to position to position, and just she really influenced me to want to. She was one of my biggest influences. I would definitely say as far as my business route, my mom was definitely always pushing me to, oh, you should do this. Oh, like major in this, or take this, read this book. My mom loves sending me books. She sends me a different book every month. So as far as the business side, I would definitely say my mom was one of my biggest influences as to say like, okay, I don't know exactly what I want to be, but I know I want it to be a white collar job for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that she sends you books every month, man. I feel like
Yeah.
I didn't value books enough. I used to think it was cool to be like, oh, dude, I don't even read. Like,
hmm
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I used to be. But now I read something every day.
hmm
And it's
hmm
so valuable because the information in those books that was written down, that's someone's experience with
hmm
life and with whatever, if you pick up a business specific book, that's someone who took every concept that they learned while they were in business, wrote it
Yeah.
down on a piece of paper, and it's available to you for what, 2 hours of work? Like,
hmm
if you go to work for like 2 hours, it's like 20
Yeah.
bucks or whatever. Like, yeah, like 25
Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah.
You can have access to all of the information that someone experienced.
hmm
And I feel like that is invaluable. And I never really looked at it like that. So I think it's really, really cool that she sends you books. And what's the most favorite book that she's ever sent you, and like why? Why was that your favorite?
My favorite book she's ever sent me was I don't know, I really enjoyed reading Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by 50 Cent.
I
That
have
book
that
that
book. I
that book
have
that
that
book
book.
that book
Yeah,
was amazing. That book was so good. That was probably my favorite one she's ever sent me, and I read it twice. And then I even tried to get some of my friend. I tried to get my one friend to read it. Like I gave it to him, and then he had it for like I don't know. He had it for a couple months, and then he never actually read it. But I was forcing him. I was trying to force him to read it because I'm like, bro, this book is so good. You have to try to read this. You have to read it. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. He had it. He had it
yeah,
from me for like 3 months, and I'm like, all right, you didn't read it. Give me it back.
yeah. I'm gonna read it a third time.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
that book was great. I really like that. See, that isn't it? That kind of relates to what we're talking about. See, 50 Cent is someone who you can definitely say has seen both sides of the fence. He came
yeah,
from Queens, South Queens, Jamaica, which is actually where my sister was born, but South Jamaica, Queens, and now he's a big business mogul. He has all these companies. He runs he Power, all the shows that are really popular nowadays, like Power, Raising Kanan. 50 Cent is the executive producer of all those shows, so he's definitely seen both sides of the fence. And I definitely like that book was a great read for definitely for someone like me who is getting into the business world, and I definitely gained a lot from reading that. So books play a big role. A lot of people think books are I mean, I will only say that books are like not maybe it may not do you as much benefit if you're reading like fantasy books. Like
yeah,
if you're reading like Dragon Tales or like Twilight, I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Then you might not really then it's like okay, I'm just reading just to read, but if you're reading business books, books on stocks, books on real estate investment, books on financial, investments or financial wealth, financial growth, financial intelligence,
yeah.
how could you not gain from that? I don't see why people would think you wouldn't gain from reading books. I also finished reading what's the one, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay, yeah.
So
I don't have that one yet.
yeah, it was like all this hype around that book. So I had to
Yeah,
read it. I'm like, what's all the hype for? So
yeah.
I read that book, finished it this summer actually, but that was a book everybody was craving about. My mom got that for me too, and I actually read that book. So that was a
That's
good book.
awesome, man. That's really cool. What's one of the main lessons you learned from either of those books?
The one thing I definitely learned from both books, I would say, but especially from Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it also relates to another book I read called The Millionaire Next Door. The one common theme between all those books were definitely, I would say, humility and humbleness, like financial humility. And by that, that means, you know, we grew up in the generation of flexing or, showboating. A lot of people want to, have either the nicest car, the biggest house, or the newest clothes, the biggest chain. That's definitely our generation is the flashy generation where a lot of people want to show off for the
Yeah,
social medias. They want to show off for the social media to show, oh, I'm this big important person with all this money. And honestly, a lot of people are living a facade. A lot of people, they live a lie on their social media pages. They're posting these things that they don't really live. They may post a picture in a rented Ferrari, but then they go back to an apartment that they live in, with like eight other people. So, everything's a facade. Is the one thing that the book Steph taught me is just, live your true life. Live a humble life. I have no problem living a humble life, even no matter how much money I make. I'm not a big car guy personally. I'm not a
Huh.
big car guy. Some people are, and that's fine. But me personally, I'm not a big car guy. I
Yeah.
want something that's gonna get me to point A to point B. As long as it doesn't look like a punch buggy or something,
Yeah.
a nice Honda, a nice
Yeah.
Nissan. Like I have a 2008 Nissan Rogue
Yeah.
SUV, all black, tinted windows, rims are clean. Like it looks nice to me. I get compliments on my car all the time because
Yeah.
I used to have a Honda Accord, but someone hit my car, so my insurance, their insurance gave me a new car. Pulled up to school, everybody thought my car was sweet. Everybody wanted to ride in my car. I got a 2008 car. Like it's not about, a lot of people they blow all this money on things that, the books taught me that we think are assets, but it's really a liability because
Yeah.
if it's not making you money, it can't be an asset. You could
No,
buy you could buy Mercedes because you can afford it, but if it's not making you money, then it's not an asset.
no, yeah. I remember I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast, and he goes, it wasn't Joe Rogan. I forget who he had on, but someone that he had on, they were like, oh, like that car, like that doesn't attract girls. That attracts other
Hmm.
guys that like cars. Like, so it's not even like,
Exactly. Exactly.
unless you really appreciate the machine, right? Like how you said, some
Yeah.
people are car guys, but
Yeah.
don't go out and buy a car or buy certain things just because you think it
Yeah.
attracts something, or you think
Exactly.
it's draining yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like don't go out and spend all this money on jewelry and stuff just to make it seem like no, like honestly, me, the type of person I am, I'm a humble guy. I'm not really big into fashion and I'm not big into cars, which is kind of good for me because I won't blow my money on it. And
Yeah.
I'm actually very frugal. I'm very frugal. In high school, my one of my best friends, he used to call me Mr. Krabs
Yeah.
because but it's because I'm financially smart. I'm not gonna spend my money on just anything that just crosses my eye.
Nah.
It has to really mean something to me. Like a
Yeah.
lot of things don't mean that much to me. I don't want to just blow my money on things that mean nothing to me. I'm not a big shoe guy. Like I'm not a sneakerhead. Like I can't look at shoes and be like, oh, those are eights, those are 11s. Like I couldn't tell the difference honestly. So I'm not a car guy. I'm not a shoe guy. I'm not really big into clothes. So it's I'm just a normal guy. I don't really spend my money on a lot of things. And my parents are like that too. They tell me all the time. Well, my parents tell me all the time. They're like, "Yeah, Ryan doesn't like spending his money on anything."
Yeah.
Because they know that I'm financially smart. I don't really like to blow my money on things. So, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna even put you on game. This is something I would do because we're talking about we wouldn't spend money on fancy cars just to impress people. What something I would do, like the type of person I am. Say I do get a Mercedes. I'm the type where so I'll have a Mercedes and I'll have a Honda. My Mercedes, I probably won't even touch it. I'll have that. If I buy it, I'm gonna turn it into an asset. I'm gonna rent that Mercedes out, like how
Yeah.
people rent. I'll rent it out to people for like I'll find out whatever the market rate is, to rent out electric cars and maybe rent it out for a little bit under. So I'm already top of the market because I'm outbidding everybody else when put it on whatever, type of thing, type of website or app you have to put your car on to rent it out, and I'll just rent out my Mercedes and I'll use my Honda as my actual car. Like that's the type of person I am.
Yeah. Just because you don't believe in the lifestyle of renting a Mercedes, because you said I'll never rent a Mercedes or a Ferrari just to rent one, you
Yeah, no.
also aren't ignorant to the fact that other people would do that. So you
Yeah,
could
definitely.
easily, have that. And
Yeah, if I had a Ferrari, I'm
yeah,
definitely renting it out. That's not something I'm just gonna drive every day just to drive it.
no,
Like I don't see the need for that.
no, definitely not. And even though you don't like, you don't like money, and not money, but you don't like to spend your money on shoes and things like that. I feel like you're the type that would invest in knowledge. You would invest in a business if you had one. You would invest in
Hmm.
all that, anything that's going to pay you back. Just like if you invested in a Mercedes, that's going to pay you
Hmm.
back. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's a very smart way to go about things.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that mindset. Another piece of advice that I was given or I read somewhere, I can't really remember, but they said that when you look at money or when you look at your money, think about how many hours it took you to acquire that money. Now, when you go to the store and you see something that's, let's say you get paid $10 an hour, right? You see something that's $50,
Yeah.
no longer $50. Put hours. So that's 5 hours of your life. Would you pay 5 hours of your
Right.
life to have that?
Right.
When you
That's
start thinking
interesting.
in terms like that, you don't want to buy anything for a while, bro. You don't want to
A
buy
lot of
anything.
things, hours, some of these things in this world take days of your,
Yeah,
months of your life.
yeah, absolutely.
It's like 2 months.
You have a very expensive car payment, right? Say your car payment's $500 and you get paid $100 a day, which is, not crazy, but it's
Mhm.
still so for 5 days of your life, 5 days per month are dedicated. A whole work week is dedicated to you having this car payment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Or if you think about in terms of houses, like some of these with the housing market booming, some of these houses are going for like what, half a mil, 500K, 400K.
yeah.
If you're making under 100K a year, are you willing to spend how many years of your life is that? That's a lot
5 years
of
of your life.
years. That's
Yeah.
5,
Plus
10,
interest.
12, 15
Yeah,
years of your life. Sheesh.
yeah,
Oh no. It's crazy.
yeah. That's
Gotta really
definitely
be
a good
worth
point.
it.
I like that you read books. I really do.
Yeah.
I appreciate that because I appreciate those who go out in the world and they search for knowledge because
Yeah.
knowledge is key when it comes to being successful in anything.
Hmm.
I mean, you could be a freak athlete, you can be, but until you
Yeah.
start studying the body, physiology,
Hmm.
just learning about nutrition, learning about your health, different
Hmm.
exercises, things like that, I don't feel like you can fully be, you know, a well-rounded, healthy individual until you start
Yeah.
reading or until you
Hmm.
start learning. And it doesn't have to be huge books, but
Hmm.
read the articles because I know some people don't even read the articles. So at least
Yeah.
read the articles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it
Yeah.
comes to, finances too, you could read the
Hmm.
books. I think the books are better because they give full
Hmm.
concepts. They give a lot of different points. I'm actually
Yeah.
reading right now Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And
Okay.
my one of my really good friends, Mondo, I played football with him in college at King's College
Hmm.
when I played. He gave it
Hmm.
to me, and a lot of great points in there. A lot of things that I'm actually using in my daily life. And
Yeah.
if you haven't read it yet, that's one that I would definitely suggest that you read.
Yeah. Definitely got to check it out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this dude. He studied, I don't know, like 80 different men, 80 different successful men, or something like that. I don't know
Hmm.
the exact number, but it was crazy. He said that these are the 13 main things that he learned across, or he studied hundreds of men over 80 years. It was one of
Hmm.
those numbers. And it was just crazy to see that these 13 things are what every one of them did. It was a common theme
Mm.
in all of them to some extent. Like,
Yeah.
20 or 30 guys may have, 1, 5, and 6 may have been key to them. And then 20 or
Mm.
30 guys, but like these are like the 13 main things that they talk about and that were key to their success in life. And yeah, so if you need another book to read, that's probably one that I would grab for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
That's my type of book. Those are the type of books I'm interested in, like financial literacy, things like that, stocks. Trying to learn more about stocks. Stock market is so complex. I feel like I
Yeah.
can't really get a grasp of it. So, but it's a challenge that I'm excited to accept, and I'm just trying to learn more about it before I even get involved in stocks. I'm not trying to get involved until I really understand the gist of what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think understanding and exposure are two very, very key things that you need to do before you get into anything and before you
Hmm.
invest time in anything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah. So you have a quote prepared for us for today?
Yeah, actually, this quote is really it's not like from someone like in a movie or like a book or something,
Yeah.
but it's from my dad. It's something my dad said to me, and it kind of stuck with me because when I was thinking, I was like, well, I don't want to just choose any random quote. I want to choose something that relates to my life. And
Yeah.
I remember I was having a talk with my dad once because when I have, issues or anything, me and my dad have that relationship where I can go to him about anything. We have that relationship where I can talk to him about anything. Same with my mom. I can talk to my mom about anything, regardless what the thing is, and they'll give me honest feedback. They're non-judgmental. They'll because they've been through it all before, so they're
Yeah.
very understandable. So one thing my dad once told me when I was telling him about one of my issues I was having up at school, he said, one thing about life that I'll tell you, if you really, really, really want to do something, then do it. Because there's no regrets if you really want to do it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me because kind of one thing about me, I overthink a lot,
Yeah.
I second guess a lot of things. And I catch myself trying to be too precise sometimes. Like I want to be too like strategical. I want to plan things out too
Perfection.
far. Yeah, like I'm a
Perfection.
perfectionist. I'm gonna be honest. A
Yeah.
lot of people are, but I'm really a perfectionist where I want everything to go as planned. I want to plan things out a month ahead and have it all scripted. Like, nah, my dad just told me like, listen, man, if you ever don't second guess life, man. If you really want to do something, then do it. Like,
Yeah.
what's the regret? If as long as you really wanted to do it, there should be no regret
Yeah.
because you really
Absolutely.
wanted to do it. And
Yeah.
now that I'm out of college, I've really been living by that because I never was the type to really spend a lot of money on, traveling and things like that. But now that I'm done football and I'm done school, I have a lot of free time on my hands,
Yeah.
and I'm using it to travel. I just got back from South Beach, Miami. I'm supposed to be going to Houston, Texas soon. So, and it's like something I really wanted to do is travel. So it's like, why wait? Because I catch myself thinking, like it's summertime, like maybe just, stack up and just stay in the house. I'm like, nah, man, just travel. You can still stack up and still enjoy yourself. Like if you really want to do it, I really wanted to travel once I graduated. Then I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Absolutely. And I think that, one of the main points of what you just said too is that there's only regret in what if, right? There's never
Definitely.
regret in I did that because you're at the end of the day, after you get done with it and after you complete it or do whatever it is you got to do, you're still alive. Your family still loves you. You're still
Mm-hmm.
healthy, hopefully, unless it's something
Exactly.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like all those things are still there. So there's no regret. The regret comes when you're like, well, what if I had traveled, after college and you never did?
Mm,
Oh, well, what if? Oh,
exactly.
now I didn't get to
Exactly.
travel. Now you're still
Exactly.
thinking about traveling. You're at work
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
you're thinking about traveling, but you're not traveling, so
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's definitely. I find myself on a day-to-day basis doing that to myself though as well. Like, oh, you want
Yeah.
to clean the kitchen, just simple things like that. And if I don't, I'm like all day. I'm like, I should probably go do that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even though
Hmm.
yours is a little more, exciting traveling,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, there's always regret in what if. What if I had cleaned the kitchen? Then I would have came home
Yeah.
to a clean kitchen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Things like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I really like that quote. I think that quote speaks to, a lot
Yeah.
of people that are looking to take risks in life. And,
Definitely.
you know, if not today, then when?
Yeah. Tomorrow isn't promised, so
Yeah,
there's no time like the present.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Ryan, it was a pleasure to get to know you on a deeper level. Like, we've always had classes together and we've always, just talked about class or like, had projects together, things like that. But it was really nice to get to know you, your perspective on where you come from in life and, you know, where your mindset is. And honestly, throughout, talking briefly before this and then doing this podcast, I know a lot of things about you, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I followed you on social media, saw all your stuff, and, you should be proud of yourself, man. You really should,
Thank you.
because
Thank you.
especially just that intro, reading off all those different things,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
is
It made me
definitely,
smile. It made me smile
yeah,
hearing all that. It was
yeah,
like,
because we don't realize as people often all the accomplishments that we've done, and it
yeah.
takes that little reminder of, yo, you did all this, so imagine
Yeah.
what you can do. Like you set
Exactly.
your
Because
mind
because
to
the
it.
journey just starting. So
Yeah, yeah, dude, absolutely. So
yeah.
yeah, never forget that. Never forget everything you've accomplished and everything you've excelled at. So
Definitely.
yeah. because it's you, man. It's you, and
Mm-hmm.
you're able to do all those things. Yeah. Well, everyone out there, follow the podcast on Spotify at the Excelcast. Excelcast. We are on TikTok now at Excelcast. We are also on Instagram at Excelcast_. So give all those a follow. Do the Q&A down below. We're also going to have a poll down below. And as always, stay blessed and excel.